Tell me why. So before I start this review on this movie, I want to say that regardless of your political views, your political values, anything that you believe or don't believe in, this video is not for that. It's not to side with any side of anybody's political views. This is solely for the purposes of reviewing and discussing this film and the nature behind this film and what happens in this film. With that being said, let's get into it. Directed by Alex Garland, this movie is very cinematically well done. And I will say that there were times that my girlfriend and I were watching the movie and we're like, okay, but why? Because there's just some instances where, okay, there has been some things said and done here that we kind of have an idea why people are doing what they're doing, but there's not a clear and present outline of what truly is the driving force behind why certain things are happening. So basically, from the plot, from what I can gather, this president, who is played by Nick Offerman, he is in his third term, which we know does not happen, so my girlfriend and I kind of came to a conclusion that maybe he kind of forced his way into a third term, or, you know, maybe overgoing some votes and stuff. Like, I don't know, that wasn't talked about in the movie. It wasn't expanded on in the movie, or maybe we missed it because this is the second time I watched it. And within the first like 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, Stephen McKinley Henderson's character, whose name is Sammy, he kind of has a conversation with Joel, who is played by Wagner Morn, and he is asking him these questions as if he would ask the president these questions, saying, hey, Mr. President, you know, how does it feel that you launched 2 airstrikes on your own people? Hey, Mr. President, how is it that you disbanded the FBI? Stuff like that. So we kind of came to the conclusion that maybe the culmination of disbanding the FBI, which is kind of crazy, and then launching 2 airstrikes on your own people is batshit crazy nuts. But at the same time, why did the president get led to disband the FBI? Why did he get led to launching 2 airstrikes on his own people? You know, like, these questions never truly got answered, and these questions never really even had an opportunity to unfold. Like, we thought throughout the whole movie that maybe something would have came up that, oh, this, that, and the third happened, so that's why the president disbanded the FBI. This, that, and that happened, so he had to launch airstrikes on his own people because they were being like this. It wasn't like a clear-cut, cookie-cutter thing to let us know that, which I don't need you to spoon feed me, but there are some things that kind of need to be fleshed out a little bit, you know? So throughout this film, we follow Sammy, Lee, Joel, and Jesse, which, as I said earlier, Sammy is played by Stephen McKinley Henderson, Jesse is played by Kaylee Speeney, Joel is played by Wagner Morn, and Lee is played by Kirsten Dunst. So we have these people who are press, right? And throughout the whole film, even the second time watching it, my girlfriend and I were saying that, like, yo, what is it with the press members? Like, why is it that they seem to be uber protected no matter what? Even on their front lines, people are like pulling them back, not even like kicking them and like shooting them or nothing, just being like, hey, you know, not even saying get out the way, nothing like that, until the end when we get to the White House, which we'll get on. So this is literally a civil war. The country is divided. There are places within the country that they're acting like it doesn't exist and nothing's happening. You see in the movie that there are still people with high-powered artillery watching over these same people who are acting like nothing's happening. So obviously they know something's happening, they're just acting like it because they don't want to deal with it, they're living in denial, whatever the case is. Throughout the film, we follow these photographers or press members, and we're getting to see a perspective of this civil war through the press members or the photographers, which my girlfriend Jen, she made a great point. She's like, maybe this film is made to see the perspective of press, like, you know, a war photographer. Like, you're on the front lines and you can die at any moment. You have to capture the moments that nobody else can because you're on the front lines and you're telling a story that nobody else can. So that's a great idea, right? Like, that is a great point. The fact that, like, we are seeing it from the press members' idea and they're from their viewpoint and the photographer's viewpoint, which makes sense why certain things, it's like, it doesn't matter. You know, like, there's certain things that don't matter. The semantics don't matter. I just need to get the story, which is what they were after, was the story. Great pictures. She and I made a great point together about Joel's character, Wagner Morn's character, and saying that, like, he didn't have a gun. He didn't have a camera. He didn't have jack diddly hoo-ha. This man was just walking around, smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, you know, giving out orders and saying, man, this gunfire is making me hard. Bro, what the fuck? Wait, hold on. Like, that right there, it just, we both were like, Why is this making you hard? Why is it the idea behind heavy artillery gunfire and explosions and death and chaos making you hard? At the same time, she said the point about it being about the story and the journalists and their point of view. So maybe it's supposed to be about the fact that these journalists are after the biggest story of the time. They have this excitement because they're seeking this great story that'll bring them whatever it'll bring them, because we don't know who's paying them. We don't know how they're getting paid. We don't know how they're being put up in these fancy hotels. We don't know how they're being taken care of and how they have water. And in the beginning of the movie, people are fighting for water. And then you have this clear cookie cutter American woman, blonde hair, blue eyes, run through the crowd with a bomb on her back with an American flag. You wouldn't expect that. You'd expect that from somebody who looks like a jihad or a black person or a Hispanic person or an Asian person. But you wouldn't expect that from a cookie cutter looking American woman. There's so many nuances in this film that would just played into the great cinematography of this film. There's just so many questions that leave me asking, but why? Kirsten Dunst and Kaylee Speeney did a great job in this film. Kaylee Speeney's character, Jessie, she is a younger photographer, and she kind of reminds Lee of herself, which is why she took her under her wing without really wanting to take her under her wing. And throughout the film, we see this change in Lee, Kirsten Dunst's character, because she is just so gung-ho about her not being part of the crew, and then later on she's trying to protect her. And there's a line in the film where Jessie asks Lee, hey, if I were to get shot, would you take that photo? And then Lee's like, yeah, kind of, I'd have to, because it'd be a great shot. And then you have that foreshadowing play out later on in the film, because something happens later on in the film that is, it parrots back, and it's just a really well made film. It's just, there's so many things that happen that make you think, why? Like, there's so much overkill with the artillery and the shooting and the explosions and the killing that you're like, okay, I feel you, yet angry. A lot of Americans have felt that angry for about 20 plus years now. So this is embodying a lot of things, something in and of itself. But anyway, as I said, not talking true politics here. Well, throughout the film, they talk about the Western forces and all of this stuff happening, and we just don't really know why people are so angry and aggressive and combative. And there's a scene in the film that was very, very, very gut-wrenching, but also so real and had me on the edge of my seat, was where these guys were in army uniforms, and unfortunately Jessie and another character get caught up with these guys, and they're shooting civilians. When the whole crew joins them, he asks them where they're from, and Lee says she's from Colorado, Jessie says she's from Missouri, and Joel says he's from Florida, and then one guy says he's from Hong Kong, and then he immediately gets shot. So it's kind of parroting on the thing of like, get out of my own country, like go back to your country kind of thing, but on a new level. So with that, we kind of were like, damn, that's pretty real. So this movie was so well done, so well shot, so well thought out. It's just, there's various things that, it's not that it didn't make any sense. There's just a lot of questions went unanswered for us personally. I would just like to know why the president was just sought after for being this terribly horrendous man that deserved to have this immense amount of overkill, and to where his own security detail didn't even get a chance. His decoy got out of the car and was like, wait, and they just shot her square in the face. Somebody tried to make a deal with the Western forces, and she got shot square in the face too. So it's like, yo, what is happening here, bro? Like, why are we so gung-ho about shooting first and asking questions later? Because if we ask questions later, there's nobody alive to answer the questions. So that's my take on the Civil War movie. Is just, it is so well done. It is a great movie, one of the best movies of the year that came out. Honestly, it is. It's just, it raises even more questions for me, and maybe that was the point of the film. Maybe that was the point, to have you asking more questions as the viewer. Like, why did these people seek out such overkill for the president? Why did the president disband the FBI? Why did he, initiate 2 airstrikes on his own people? Why are people living in such poverty, yet the press members seem to be somewhat protected and can technically get whatever they want and get away with it and take pictures of all these things happening and have all these evidence, but nobody does anything to them? So thank you guys for joining me in this video. Much appreciated. Aren't subscribed to the channel? Hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you can get a notification anytime there's a new video. Thanks again for watching, guys. Until the next one.